Welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. My name is Greg Sykes. Glad for all of you guys to join us. I'm here with my co-host Brandon Scott, and we are getting ready to talk about the next game, Game 2 against the Denver Broncos. But first, we are going to, first before we get into that, just everybody, make sure that you subscribe to this channel if you're really enjoying us, and I know you are. I know we're like this. What do you call it, Brandon? Like the secret desires. I don't know if I'm
Oh,
ever anybody's secret desire. Maybe I shouldn't get into that. I'll probably, but anyway, anyway, folks, if you're enjoying the channel, please consider subscribing. We really do enjoy when folks are enjoying our content, and just let us know how you're enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, let us know. Let us know what we can do better for you. With that said, let's get into today's video. So before we get it into the game, Brandon, a little bit of news. Now, it's not breaking news. Well, I would love to say that we're breaking news, but a little bit of news, and I was actually shocked by this, but seems like Chase Young's going to give it a go against Denver. Initially, it was said that Chase Young was not going to be playing these first two games. But it seems like now maybe Chase Young is thinking, you know what? I need to get in there and play. So let's do it. So, Brandon, Chase Young playing against Denver. What are your thoughts on this?
it's good news, man. This defensive line is looking nasty week one, man. So why not? Add more fuel to the fire, man. Definitely, because
Yeah.
look, Chase Young is a must start. It's good that he really. I'm not gonna say rushed. He got himself ready. He got into practice. He was full participant this week. It really behooves him because it's a contract year. Like I said, this D line looked good last week. So a lot of people are asking the question, do they necessarily need him? I think Chase Young, you can see the speed. He just has to stay consistent and stay healthy. So this is a really good move because we're gonna have to put a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson, man. So I think this is really, really good news for the Commanders.
I'm, of course, I'm ecstatic because I'm a huge Chase Young fan. Um, Even though I was starting to recognize that, he is starting to kind of tiptoe into that bust category.
Yeah,
The more that he is, laying out, so to speak, the more games he's missing, the more times it looks like he's starting to mount up injuries. Even I have to admit that. And even I have to admit that we can go without him if we have to, because, like you said, Brandon, that defense still looks nasty even without him. And a Chase Young that could be 100% with this defense, it's unfair. I mean,
yeah.
wow. Wow. That's all I can say. I mean, I was so astonished by how that defense looked in game one against Arizona. I can only imagine how it's going to look with Chase Young out there if he is 100%. Um, but so, of course, speaking of Denver, I guess this is a good segue. Denver, okay, Russell Wilson, mentioned Russell Wilson, he is always, I know, I'm trying to get my words straight today. I realize that his first season with the Denver Broncos was kind of a disappointment, and then certainly, we were starting to think. When I say we as NFL fans across the board, starting to kind of think maybe Russell Wilson's time is starting to dwindle down, which is kind of a bit ridiculous because you got to think, well, he's only been in the league for, at that point, what, 10 years? And, we just saw Tom Brady, who was in the league for 100 years, finally retire. So, it's like, come on, Russell Wilson has plenty of life left in him. I mean, shoot, I did videos on hoping that Russell Wilson was going to come to Washington, a year or two ago. So I would have been ecstatic to have seen Wilson come to the, well, back then it was the Redskins. But having said that, Russell Wilson, still going to give you fits, and I think he's going to have a better season this year because of Sean Payton. And Sean Payton is going to revive his career in Denver. So I think by saying all that, I'm really actually am getting to a point here. I think we're going to need Chase Young. I think we're going to need all hands on deck for the defense. We're going to have to put a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson. But it's a great segue into our three keys to the game. Now, in our last video that we had with Ed Oliver and us Maniacs here, and if you guys didn't watch the video, please go back and watch the video. It was a great time having Ed on the channel. I love the guy. He puts out great content on his own. He is one of the best YouTubers in Washington football land, and so I love him. He's like a brother. So, having said that, we were kind of given our clues as far as what our thoughts were as far as the game. We weren't exactly optimistic. I said it was going to be a heartbreaker, certainly, with this game, but it's going to be a low-scoring game because both of these teams have great defenses. We know what defense that we have, but Denver has a pretty stout defense as well. But Brandon, I'm going to shut up on this, but Brandon, 3 points, 3 keys to the game if Washington is actually going to pull this out.
Okay. Number one, I'm going to say Eric Bieniemy. I'm looking for him to be a little more creative, kind of show that genius of being offensive coordinator. I think that I know it's just 1 week, but he didn't exactly wow us week 1. So put your foot on the pedal. Let's get creative because, like you said, this defense is a good defense. I mean, if you look at some names on the defensive side, that's your secondary. Patrick Surtain, Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons. The list goes on. Randy Gregory. They got a defense who's going to put pressure on Sam Howell. So get creative. I definitely want to see Eric Bieniemy do his thing, show the creativeness he brought over from Kansas City. Number 2, man, Sam Howell. Don't play hero, man. Definitely rely on your weapons. Don't feel like you have to shoulder the load. Don't have to be, you have weapons. If you look at the receiving core, Terry McLaurin, now I know he's dealing with a toe. You best believe that Patrick Surtain is going to be lined up across from him. But you got Jahan Dawson, you got Curtis Samuel, you got a list of, Brian Robson. I mean, the list goes on. Rely more on your weapons. Let your weapons work for you, not vice versa. Number 3, work smarter, not harder. That's something we used in the Army, man. Work smarter, not harder, right? Screen passes, and it kind of goes back into Eric Bieniemy a little bit. Be a little more creative on offense because they're going to put pressure on. They know that this is his 3rd start. They know they're going to put a lot of pressure. Look for blitzes. Look for them to put a lot of pressure on Sam Howell. So definitely be creative. Utilize 2 people real quick. Curtis Samuel and Antonio Gibson are Swiss Army knives. Definitely utilize them in the pass and the running game. So, yeah, I think with those 3 keys to victory, they roll with that, we could get the W.
Yeah, I mean, when I did my live stream after last week's game, I didn't have a lot to chime in, but one person who did chime in was pretty much on Eric Bieniemy, like bees on honey, right? Like he was like this guy looked nothing like the Eric Bieniemy that we thought he was going to be. He looked more like Scott Turner, and I was like, ugh, ooh. I was like, I don't know if he went into Scott Turner land, but he definitely was not as I don't know, creative as I would have liked for him to have been. Because to your point, he's got these guys, these Swiss Army knives, and Antonio Gibson and Curtis Samuel. When he hand the ball off to Antonio Gibson going straight up the gut, that is, to me, that is not Antonio Gibson's strength. A lot of times that's where he has fumbled the ball a lot. And guess what happened? He fumbled the football. I would rather use him in space and use them in some of those gadget plays. Maybe have both him and Curtis Samuel in the backfield. Have some just weird, creative plays where you got both of those guys in the backfield, and then they go out for passes, or maybe you fake a pass or fake the run to one, and you pass to the other, or something like that. Same thing with like the tight ends, for instance. You got Logan Thomas, you got Cole Turner. Um, you got two guys who are basically your pass receiving tight ends. Maybe have some formations where you have the tight ends like that. You don't know which one's going to get the ball. Maybe none of them get the ball. Maybe you fake it to both of them and you hand it off to Antonio Gibson or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of creativity because you have so many weapons on offense. And I'm like you. I want to see Eric Bieniemy get very creative because he's got plenty of weapons and plenty of tools. It's not that he doesn't have enough weapons to do it. He's got it. So use what you have in the tool shed, right? And do
Yeah.
it. So I expect him to come out and play a better, call a better game against Denver. I really do. He's going to have to because this defense is nothing like what we saw against Arizona. I think they can move the football on this defense, but it's going to be tough. And so you got to take advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves, and you may not have as many opportunities against this defense like you did against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I agree. This is nothing against the Cardinals, but to me, this is more of a defensive test. It's really going to test Eric Bieniemy and really see how can he utilize all these offensive weapons he has, right? Because we both said we weren't fan of Scott Turner, not at all, because he was so stagnant. He was predictable.
Yeah.
Well, he was, EB was kind of predictable week one, right? He kind of stuck to a game plan but didn't really wow you. But his MO coming over from Kansas City is being creative with utilizing the weapons that he had over there. I mean, if you look at what he had in Kansas City, Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's the guy who they utilize in many different ways, and I kind of see a lot of. Curtis Samuel's not as fast, but Curtis Samuel's not a slug either. So, they could definitely utilize. They have a lot of weapons. I think people don't realize how many weapons we have on this team. I mean, if you just look at the receiving core, McLaurin, Dotson, Samuel, Brown. I mean, the list. Now you have Jamison Crowder, who not going to be receiving. He's more of a special teams guy. But you mentioned it before, Logan Thomas, which in the end zone, he's money. Just throw it up. So Cole Turner. I mean, so the list goes on. He has weapons. So kind of getting back to Eric Bieniemy and really Sam Howell. Sam Howell, third start. Like I said earlier, don't feel like you have to do too much because they're going to test him. If I'm defensive coordinator, I'm putting as much pressure as I can on Sam. I'm gonna try to get Sam, and it's really the biggest thing we said about Sam is what his release needs to get faster.
Yeah.
It's going to have to get faster this week because they're going to blitz him. They're going to put pressure on him. He's going to have to get that ball out quick. So with the issues we have in the O line, that's another thing. More slants, more. Get the ball out faster, these quicker routes, because he may not have the time to sit back there and go through his progressions. You're gonna have to look for these quick routes. So I don't want Sam to have to rely on having to be the guy. Quarterback's not just being the guy. Is knowing how to properly utilize the guys around you. And I think if he does that, we definitely have a chance to go 2-0.
So the question now is, Brandon, have our thoughts on this game changed? Now, I think you were the only one who was positive with this game. Ed and I kind of had negative slants. We both feel like it's probably going to be our first loss of the season. I still feel like we're going to have a heartbreaker, but it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a very close defensive game. Because Denver, quite frankly, even with Russell Wilson, doesn't scare me offensively. No. So I don't think they're going to really be able to put up more than 20 points, but I think it's going to be a heartbreaker at the end of the game. What are your thoughts? Do you feel like there's still an opportunity that the Commanders are going to win this game?
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you why. This is kind of a long answer, but Russell Wilson, look, he plays quarterback in the NFL. He's got talent. Okay, I'm not, he definitely has earned that right. But, if you look back at Seattle days, how much did the Legion of Boom really set him up for success? If you look at, when he got his extension and they had a steadily lit pieces here and there go from the defense. You saw a different side of Russell Wilson. You know, it was now his little cook and all that. You know, with his first year in Denver, he didn't have that. I mean, the defense was solid, but it's nothing like the Legion of Boom. And he had to shoulder more of a load. I think that if he had any chance to revitalize his career and really show that he earned that money in Denver, is with Sean Payton. Because Sean Payton is one of those minds in the NFL. He's one of those coaches. Him, Mike Tomlin, are two coaches that I always wanted to see coach here in DC. Man, I'm a big Mike Tomlin and Sean Payton fan. So he's definitely a guy who's gonna. Because you look at, they already had their little squabbles, I guess. You know, he came in, he's trying to solidify himself as the head coach, and Russell Wilson has his thing. But anybody that knows Sean Payton knows he's going to come in, he's going to do that. So he's going to hold him to a standard. So I don't want to say that all his success was because of the Legion of Boom, but I think that the Legion of Boom had a lot to do. You know what I mean? Just where I'm at. It's nothing against Russell Wilson. It's just he doesn't scare me in Denver. He's just. And now if you look at his entourage, I mean, Cortland Sutton is a receiver who can play some ball. I know that I don't know. I believe Judy's not playing. Running back wise, Javonte Williams and a former Redskin, Samaj P. Ryan. They said there you go. I mean, who knows? I mean, like I said, we said it last week. Any given Sunday, right? Anybody can win in this league. And if you look at the Cardinals game, that was a little closer than comfort, man. I mean, if you look at the fact that the two fumbles, which if you look at where is the worst place you can fumble the ball on the football field? Your own red zone and the opponent's red zone. We hit both of those boxes in the same game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the interception, I'm not going to put that too much on the Hal because he was under pressure, and that's just something he's going to learn as a quarterback. Throwing the ball away. Young quarterbacks want to make that play. They're going to try to force the ball in. When he gets more time under his belt, gets more experience, you're going to see a lot more throwing the ball away, not forcing the ball. So I'm not really putting that on him too much because the O-line is just, it needs work. But get back into it. I'm getting on my soapbox a little bit. Get back to it. I still think it's a win, man. It's going to be a test. It's going to be a test. But I think that if Hal tries to do too much, it's going to show, and they're going to penalize him. If he plays his part, utilizes the weapons around him, if Eric Bieniemy uses his tool bag of tricks, man, I think it's a winnable game because we have too many weapons on both sides of the ball to not win this game. I mean, Denver, the defense is solid, but their offense, again, doesn't scare anybody. And I think this defense is going to – I think Forbes is going to eat. I'm going to make a prediction. I predict that we get 2 interceptions, one by Forbes and one by Cameron Curl. I'm going to say that.
Yes, Curl, my man.
Absolutely. I think the defense is going to eat. I definitely think they're going to eat because especially Chase Young, they're going to go after Russ, man. He's definitely going to be cooking. So, yeah, I think it's a win, and I'm going to say 24-17, Washington.
Folks, you heard it here. 24-17, Washington. They're going to go 2-0. I am hoping more for Brandon's prediction than mine. Because I want this winning streak from the preseason up until now to keep going. I mean, there's been nothing but positive vibes since the new ownership's taken over, and so I don't want that to end. I know eventually it's going to end, but I just don't want that to end right now. It seems like there's so much positivity, and I think that at some point Washington is going to realize this is no longer Dan Snyder's team, and so they're going to start winning games that are supposed to win. And honestly, this is going to wind up being one of those games that, if you look at it on paper, Washington is probably, it should be a little bit more of a more talented team than Denver, just because of maybe they have a little bit more talent on offense than what Denver does. Now, certainly things balance out a little bit more because of seasoned veteran and Russell Wilson as opposed to Sam Howell. But the overall offense, you have to give it to Washington because of the weapons. But both defenses are really good. Although then I think I would give the edge to Washington because that defense is just, it looks so stout, and special teams is playing top notch too. So I would definitely say if they eliminate the turnovers, And Washington's going to be very hard to beat. So that's the biggest thing. They eliminate the turnovers, even if it is going to be a low scoring game. They're going to be very hard to beat. So let's see what happens. But all right, Brandon. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up on for this one, folks. Let us know how we did in the comment section. Let us know what you're thinking for Sunday's game, and don't miss Sunday's game if you can. It's going to be on CBS. The kickoff is at 4:25. Washington will be on the road to against the Denver Broncos at Mile High Stadium, so you're not going to want to miss that. Brandon, you got anything else before we jet?
I got one thing real quick to make everybody laugh. So there I was. I just got a new vehicle. I had to turn in the old tags. And I'm in the DMV, 8 o'clock this morning. And walking in, there was two people walking out. And one was an Eagles fan. And obviously, they're feeling themselves right now because they think they did something.
Oh, yeah.
So he walks by me. I'm wearing my old school Redskins shirt. He looks at me, gives me a look. And the guy behind him is actually a Redskins fan, Commanders fan. And he says, walking past me, he says, F the Eagles. I just had those moments like, yes, sir. Yes, let's get it. So that'll make everybody laugh, man. Look.
Yes. I love it. I love it. We're going to keep this family oriented, but yeah. I agree. That is great. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. And again, make sure you subscribe if you're enjoying the channel. Give us a like, share the video out to others, even Eagles fans. And with that said, we will see you in the next one. Peace, everybody.
Peace.